Hi guys, this is Tony here from Metal Roos. You're about to sit down and enjoy an interview I just did um, over there. And do like and subscribe so you can get all this straight into your streaming and into your consciousness as soon as it arrives. So enjoy the interview, and I will. Over to you, Tony. Brett, thank you for coming on to talk to us at Metal Ruse. Brett from Pallbearer. Um, uh, Now we are going to be talking about your latest album. Is that correct?
Uh, yeah,
Yep.
sounds good to
Oh,
me.
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And obviously tours that are happening, of course.
hmm
But you've been the mainstay of it's a difficult thing for those who don't know um, your music, and there'll be people out there who don't,
hmm
fresh to this channel watching. How would you describe how would you describe your music?
well, it's pretty tough. It's like progressive, somewhat emotional, like doom
Mm.
with let's say progressive rock influences and kind of like 90s stuff too. I don't know. It's a melting pot of the various things that we listen to as individuals. So. There's quite a lot of different sounds going on, and each of our albums are somewhat different. But overall, it's like kind of a heavy, epic metal sort of thing.
Yeah, because I've heard you put in the doom category, which
Sure.
I personally don't. I hear it, but I don't see it as you being. I mean, I think your music's too hard to categorize, to be
I
honest.
agree. It's very hard to, and so those kinds of questions are always very difficult. Usually, what we say to just like laymen is like, uh, it's Black Sabbath meets Pink Floyd, which is an incredibly, simplified version of what it is. But to your average person at like the gas station who asks like, "Hey, you guys are banned?" You know, everybody
Yeah,
understands.
yeah.
We usually just say Coldplay just to see if they believe us.
Oh
Sometimes
God,
they do.
don't say
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah, no, I came across your albums a few years ago because you're putting fingers in different pies, listening to all sorts of different stuff, and I'm a big prog head, right? I love
hmm
my prog. I'm wearing a bloody Marillion shirt at the moment. Look.
Oh, one of my favorite
Um,
bands.
yeah, same here. Has been for my entire adult life. So, since I was 10, actually. Um, I I love the fact that in your music, particularly, it's the orchestration.
hmm
The orchestration is so uh, vivid. Like because of the prog um, influences, you get that. You don't have that straight balls to the wall. You have that heavy stuff,
hmm
but I think the fact that it mixes beautifully with this nice orchestration and journey, you do have a big journey in your music. You do like to go on a journey.
That's
And
very important to us. Yeah.
I think so as well. It's important to me more and more so as I've got older. In fact, you're younger, it's all about, you know, as much speed and power as you can get.
Uh-huh.
But as you get older, you realize you just want a bit more. Like you want to sit
Yeah.
down in your chair and you want to be taken on that journey.
Yeah.
Hence the reason I love prog, right?
Yeah,
But
of course.
yeah. But I just think it's a quite not. It's so refreshing for bands like yourself to admit that because I come from a time when prog was a dirty word. You didn't say it
Oh,
was a
for
four letter,
sure.
it was a four-letter word. You didn't say it out loud. You would wear your shirts quietly to yourself. Like what I mean? You'd put
I
on your
mean,
get
it still is amongst, certain people.
yeah, which I think
But
is yeah
I think there's this perception that prog is not cool.
yeah
But I've never
yeah
really given a fuck about being cool in that way. Like,
yeah.
I'm trying to chase a musical dragon, trying to stay interested. And that real simple, straight ahead music has its place, but it gets boring to me pretty quickly.
I think you're right. And as a musician, you have to play that live and you have to enjoy making it. And
Yeah,
if it becomes just, bubble gum, which is fine if that's what you want, but if
sure.
it, but if it's just bubble gum and you want a nice meal, why would you? It's like take McDonald's and a five-star meal. It's too,
Right.
you know what I mean?
They both serve a purpose.
They both serve a purpose. They keep you going, but
Yeah.
they're one's more nourishing than the other, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have
yeah,
we have a phrase about that sort of thing. It's just this, it'll make a turd when it
yeah.
comes to like bad food, which
Yeah.
coincidentally I'm cooking dinner right now.
Oh,
Let's
that's all
hope
right.
that that'll make a turd too.
Yeah. What you
Hopefully a
having?
solid
Something
one.
nice?
I'm making some chicken soup, which I haven't made a lot of soups, so we'll see if it's any good.
I, I'm
Hopefully it is.
I'm a vegetarian. I only make one soup. That's pumpkin, and that's the best one I can make. They
Oh,
come.
I love pumpkin soup.
It's just the easiest.
Yeah,
Roast
delicious.
everything together, then stick it in a blender. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. That's right. But so when you're touring, you're going to be touring soon again.
Yeah, well, our next tour is going to be down you guys' way
That's right.
in early March. I think the first show's on like the 7th, I
That's
think, if
right.
I'm correct.
Yep, that's it.
So, yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
so we've got the holidays off and then January and February, which we typically don't tour in those months, at least not in the States, because it can be, it's cold. Nobody wants to go out, including us. So
mm,
that's our vacation time when it's cold and nasty.
yeah, well, you do. Yeah, well, you're coming here. I mean, March is lovely here.
It's like
It's like
spring, isn't it?
it's
Or
spring,
late
it's
fall? Yeah.
fall, yeah, autumn. So
Fall. Yeah.
it's starting to get colder, but really not quite like yours over there.
I'm
It's a
excited.
bit like Florida. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
yeah, that kind of thing. Have you been here before? I should have checked that.
We have. It's been a long time though. I think the last time was maybe 2016 or something like that. It's been quite a while.
Quite some time. And did you
Yeah.
find the audience here
17
was
maybe.
did you find the audience here enjoyed your music? Like it really you did sort of connect with you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a blast. Yeah, we've actually been down there twice.
Mm.
The first time was I want to say in maybe 2015, and maybe the second time was like 2017. But in any case, it's been several years. Yeah, people down there are great. We have a lot of fun, maybe too much fun because you have to fly every
You do.
between every show, and if you have a little too much fun, then you might find yourself having not slept for several days, which is a danger.
And hangovers in the air are horrible.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
What's great about you coming here, and I've noticed this in the last maybe 10 to 15 years living in, I've been lived in Australia now for 26 years, but as of the last 10 or 15 years, I've noticed that particularly here, I think Australia makes some of the best prog metal out there. Like some of the best prog metal is made here. And the
Really?
audience, I think so. And I think the audiences, I mean, I'm biased. I live in Australia,
Right.
but I think the audiences are looking for that. So what you're producing in your albums is what a lot of the audience here really want. Because it's so isolated here.
Hmm.
People create their own sounds, like they always have done
That
since.
makes a lot of sense. I feel
Yeah.
like our scene here in Arkansas was like that too for a long time. Like the scene that we came out of was similar because not a lot of bands came here. Um, like we get some bands from like Louisiana and stuff, like that
Mm,
sort of sludge thing from the 90s, like late 90s. But for the most part, we get skipped over. So the local bands kind of just developed their own weird take on what was going on elsewhere, but it didn't sound like what was going on elsewhere.
yeah.
So I think that's part of what is in our like musical DNA is this kind of like urge to be different than what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, and I think that's brave because, it's very simple. Again, I'm a failed musician myself, but very simple to go down the route of do what everyone else is doing.
Sure.
It's easy to do that because, we've got mortgages, we've got family, we've got lives, and we think, oh, we're gonna make some money, so go down that route. Um, but to
It's the
step
smart
out,
thing to do.
yeah, well, yes, yes, but you only get one life, and
Right.
I think if you get to the end and go, well, I wish I created this,
Hmm.
because it's your legacy to the world, right? It's
Sure.
your legacy to you, your family, and the world. And if you're not proud of it, then why put it out? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree.
and I think the vocals on this last album are just, and what I love about it is it's quite Spartan
Hmm.
in its its composite can't say the word composition. You know, like you don't you put it on and there's always something different to hear. Like the vocals come in, they go out. They may not be there. There might be just some lovely, atonal guitar going on.
Hmm.
Then you know, it's all very right up my alley, to be honest with you. But you don't fill the void too much. You just let
Hmm.
the audience listen and hear. And I think that's a brave thing to do as well, because it's very easy to just fill a sound space with lots of guitar notes and lots of drum and lots of bass and worry about the notes that aren't played. But I think what you don't play is
That's
the
something
best.
that's taken us to. It's taken me, like say us as a band, a long time to get there because you know it's it's a challenge in itself to make really dense and technical music, but it's more of a challenge as a player, you know.
Mm.
But to write an effectively simple or at least simple seeming song uh, that leaves space, that was a real challenge because we'd never really done that. But I love Joe and I, like the songwriters in the band, like
Mm.
we both love very minimalist and like ambient music. So we listen to a lot of that. Um, so I think it was natural that it would appear in Pallbearer eventually, that sort of like sense of restraint. And I've really been kind of just uh, d- delving into that and mostly listening to that kind of music over the last few years. And so I think it was probably just bound to happen
Yeah,
eventually, you know.
it has that sort of Sigur Rós, that kind of sort of like you said before, when you see quite aptly Black Sabbath meets Pink Floyd. One of the great things about Dave Gilmour is the things he doesn't play, right?
Sure, absolutely.
The stuff he doesn't play. I mean, we all love a bit of the Orange Malmsteen, don't we? We all love all that.
Sure.
Of course we do. Like Van
It's
Halen.
good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. It's got a place. But there's also that point when the note he doesn't play, but you imagine that note he's played next.
Uh-huh.
It creates that imagination. And now you get that with your music, particularly this last album, because I thought it was the most restraint. Am I feeling that, or is it me just,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it was entirely intentional.
Um,
Just to pull back. I mean, with Heartless, our third album, you know, that's the most as maximalist as we can go. Even though there's some space on that album too, but like when it gets heavy and gets going, like it's a very technical,
oh, yes.
very dense and complex album. But like if we had gone any farther from there, it would have just become like a totally different style of music. And I feel like at a certain point, technicality can be the enemy of emotion.
Yes.
You know, there's like a ceiling. I mean, I think technicality certainly has its place, but and you know, we still have the music on our latest album is still surprisingly technical. It's just in a different way, you know. But it shouldn't sound technical, you know, to the listener. It should sound, you know, it should just be an effective and good song.
Yeah.
It's not intended for people to go, wow, you know, listen to what they're doing. If you're in a, you know, if you're a musician, you might be able to tell what's going on and think that it's, you know, cool, I hope, but it's not really the intended goal.
So did your fan base has it had a good like reviews from your fan base with a change of sound slightly?
I'd say it's pretty polarizing, which is not shocking. Most of our albums are.
Mm.
Um, I think there's a trajectory with each of our albums where it comes out about half of people really love it, and then half of people either don't get it or just outright hate it. And then 5 years later, people just it clicks, you know. It started that way with Heartless, and when we knew it was going to be polarizing, and then now people like love that album years later. But at the time, people, you know, half the people thought it sucked, and I think it's the same way with the new one. People that get it love it, and then others think that it's too much of a departure, but I don't really think it's a departure at all. It's just
Growth.
a change in,
Yeah.
you know, it's the same style of music. There's just the distortion isn't on all the time, you know.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. There's still plenty of heavy stuff on it, but it's kind of packed towards the end of the album, and I think a certain group of people just like heard the first couple of songs and are like, "Oh, this isn't as heavy as I want it to be," and never made it to the end, which is
It's really
it
sad.
just keeps getting heavier as it goes along.
It does, and it's really sad. I think that's the, and there's the rub for a band like yourself is you could easily open the album with their heavy stuff, draw them
Sure.
in, and then ease them out, right? But you want to
Hmm.
do what you want to do, and you do it that way. And there
Yeah.
always, people you can't please everyone, unfortunately. But
Well,
those that I think you're right, those that understand music will understand this album very much. And like myself, I really I sat back. How I like to do it, I used to put music on, turn the lights off in a dark room with no distraction because I get distracted usually by things on my desk or like the window, and I
hmm.
can't take it in. And I just was almost drowning in the soundscapes. It was that lovely. Um,
That's amazing.
yeah, really so, like delicious. Like it was really delicious. I don't know if that's a good review or not, but
No, I
delicious.
love it.
I felt it
No,
delicious.
we were very like I'm very pleased with the outcome of the production on this one because we spent more time on the sounds of this one. We were luckily able to do that, but we were able to craft the actual sounds on the front end as we were capturing them more so than we ever have in the past. And then the guy that mixed the album, Mario Quintero,
Mm,
he's a good friend of ours, and we worked with him very closely on the mix, and he was like incredibly uh like cooperative and just great to collaborate with. And he's also just an incredibly talented musician. He's in the band Spotlights.
mm.
So he has a great sense of sound and mixing and like sort of like a psychedelic approach to sound design. And they bring that to their live show too. Like they sound incredible live. Um,
Wow.
but like working with him really brought the album to life, and it's by far the closest thing to, from our conception to its actual execution that we've ever had. And I think it sounds closer to what we sound like live than any of our albums, which is pretty awesome.
And that, and there again is I've had this epiphany recently, whereas I always understood that producers and studios and production is important, of course, because we wouldn't be listening to without them, right? But there is something about that the unmentioned member of the band, that studio, the desk, the mixer, whoever, it's the unmentioned member
Hmm.
who really um, turns, uh, something shiny into gold. You know what I mean? Like,
Or vice versa. I mean, the
yeah.
mixer can make or break an album.
Oh,
If
yes.
you send them great stems, great tracks, great, recordings, and then they mess up the mix, then everyone just thinks the album sucks because that's all you can hear. Like the mix, it's just like an editor. An editor makes or breaks a movie. You can have an incredible cinematography, directing, and acting, but if the editor screws up the movie, then it's just a bad movie. People
And
don't
that's right.
know.
And all they do is blame the director or they blame the
Ex
musicians, right? Because
exactly.
they're not thinking about the studio. I mean, there's so many bands in history. Like Iron Maiden's first album, they hate that sound, right? Marillion's second album with Fugazi, they hate that sound, and took
I
them
love that one.
30 odd. I love it. It's my favorite album. It took 30 years for them to remix it, you
Yeah.
know, right? Um, you and I would love it, but them as they themselves going, it's not
Well, I
quite.
feel you. I think all musicians have something like that. It's some
There's
album
a,
that they
yeah,
we're all perfectionists, or at least anybody who stays at it as long as, or if you're in it full time and, for the long haul, you're going to have a pretty high sense of perfectionism. And so we're all our own worst critic.
yeah. You know
But that's
what?
the way it should
Exactly
be.
right. That's how it should be because that's how fine art and great art is made because it's painful process at the best of times. So
Yeah.
you want it's to actually then put it out there, your name's on it, you want it to be going, oh, Pallbearer, like it has to be what a Pallbearer would be. It's
Yeah.
no good half-assing things because just to get them out, because you're just going to ruin your career and your name. And I
And
don't
all the
think,
hard work that we put into
oh,
it, you know, it's like
all the years of gigging
years.
and
Yeah.
yeah. And so I don't think I think this album is certainly for me one of my favorites of your catalog because of the way it flows, because of the way it moves. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Australia in March, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yep.
I cannot wait. It's going to be fantastic. Are you?
I'm
Yeah. Before we go, I have to ask you this. I've always asked this everyone. Do you find it difficult to write a set list when you've got such amount of music to bring to a country that you haven't been to for a long time?
Oh, yes. Not only do we have so much music, but most of our songs are abnormally long,
I
you
love
know.
it. I love it.
So you can only we've intentionally started writing a handful of shorter songs in the last few years just to be able to stick some more in there and fill in the gaps. But yeah, it's very tough, especially when there's like the some old standbys that you know most of the audience wants to hear, but it's like, oh, we want to play the new stuff. And there's fans of every album and all the, you know, there's a pretty diverse range of styles that exist within our five albums. So the I guess the good thing about having so much music is we can cater our set list to like the audience. So if we're playing with a death metal band, we can play our heaviest stuff and it can hang, you know, it's
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
not
yeah,
death metal heavy, but we can get close.
yeah.
And then if we're playing something a little with a more subtle band or like an audience that expects something more diverse, then we can do that too. So it really just depends. So probably on this next tour, we'll be mostly playing newer stuff, but yeah, we always play some old songs too. We can't disappoint the old fans.
No, and you've got to enjoy what you play. At the end of the
Oh yeah,
day, is that you don't want to go to work and not enjoy what you do. So,
of course.
if you turn up on stage and playing stuff just because you want everyone wants to hear it,
It's gonna be half-assed.
it's going to be
Yeah,
half-assed and you get tired very quickly, right? Very quickly.
yeah.
So I'm really pleased. That's one thing I always ask because a lot of bands that haven't been here for a long time with a big catalog, it's always difficult. I'm always curious to know. Well, it must take hours. Okay, we'll put this one.
We
No,
just
no, this
argue
one.
about it right before the set.
Yeah, that's right. Drop this one. Drop that one. Put
Yeah,
this one in.
yeah,
I'm not feeling it from last night. Yes,
yeah. It happens.
it does, man. It does. Well, thanks for coming on, Chatting.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Really, honestly, genuinely love the new album.
Thank you, man.
It's something that you should be very proud of because all your catalog is wonderful, but the fact that it's growing and breathing and expanding and exploring is something that is brave, and I really, from the heart, think thank you very much because
I appreciate that quite a bit.
absolutely loved it. Yeah, just add some more. Just got your tour with Marillion. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, oh, that would be incredible.
Would it just be?
Yeah,
All right, man. But thanks for coming on. Enjoy your chicken soup.
thanks.
All
Hopefully
right.
it's good.
Yeah, but it's
It'll
great.
make a turd.
Yeah. And have a good Christmas, okay? And a
You
safe
too.
New Year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See you next year.
See you next year, man. Bye for now.
Bye.